School, sixth grade.
Okay, that's already in.
Okay. So welcome to the December 9th, 2025 meeting of the Youth and Education Committee. My name is Katie Landa and I'm the chair of the committee. Tonight, we're joined by Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. This meeting is called to order at 6:32. As a reminder, New York state law requires all committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions that you have by raising your hand. If there's time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. We need a volunteer to take minutes tonight. If you're able to take minutes, please let us know. Who took the minutes?
I think I for the last two meetings.
Yeah.
So I don't know this, I can't for all my meetings, but I will if it's necessary.
Volunteer for January.
For what it's worth, yeah, I volunteer. You couldn't volunteer someone who's not attending, and that way they'll actually have to watch the meeting and catch up.
Would that be Sandra?
No, I'm just here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
Who's missing?
Kevin
Oh.
and Rabia and Kyle.
I think that's one. Kevin or Robbie or Kyle.
So how would they do that if they're not?
They watch
If they
You
watch the
send them
video.
the recording.
Oh.
And then they'll actually know what exciting stuff happened here in their absence.
How about Kyle? Okay. All right, so we will now take attendance by roll call. Brian will conduct the roll call.
Thanks, Katie. Committee members, I'll call your name. When your name is called, please say present. I'll announce if there is quorum. Kyle died, is not with us. We'll not see him online. LV Barosa,
Present.
thank you. Stu Desser. Here. Thank you. Kate Kennedy,
Here.
thank you. I don't see Rabia Iqbal. Katie Landa,
Yeah.
thank you. Sandra Landa,
Here.
thank you. And Kevin O'Keefe is not with us this evening. So with 5 of 8 present, we have a quorum.
Okay, great. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from the November 18th, 2025 meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. However, I would like to recommend an additional revision, so I will ask the board office to distribute the revised version to the committee before the next meeting. So in order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. The chat function for committee members present via Zoom should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. So we will start with a presentation from Caitlin Passaretti. Caitlin is a senior policy associate at the Citizens Committee for Children of New York, an organization focused on advancing the well-being, equity, and justice for all of New York's children through research, advocacy, and civic engagement. And we're really grateful to you, Caitlin, for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to get. I've never been to a Cleveland meeting before, so it's very exciting, but can I get started or is there a handful that needs to be hit? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Checking. How do I move it to the?
So if you
And Sandra, are you able to hear us? All right.
Awesome. Give us a thumbs up.
I'm sorry, I had my audio off. Yes, I can hear you fine, thank you.
Okay, great. Hello, by the way.
Hello.
I think maybe because I haven't. Yeah.
Little
Good work.
preview.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Great.
sorry about that.
No, all good. Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me. My name is Caitlin Passaretti. As Katie said, I am the Senior Policy Associate at Citizens Committee for Children of New York. Just a brief agenda of what we will be discussing today. I'll sort of introduce CCC a little bit more, and then go into your community district, your representation, education policy in New York City, policy areas that I think are important to pay attention to, specifically that fall into what I am working on every day, impact of the federal government, how to get involved, and we can end with questions. If anything comes up during the presentation, feel free to raise your hand and we can stop there, or we can hold to the end, whatever feels good for y'all. So as Katie mentioned, as Citizens Committee for Children of New York, we're an 80-year-old organization started by Eleanor Roosevelt in the 40s. And it was focused on making sure every child was healthy, housed, educated, and safe. We receive no public funding to remain impartial, so we can call our elected officials to count when is necessary. And so we are all privately funded by foundations and personal donors. Our three pillars are data and research, policy advocacy, and community engagement. The Keeping Track data book we publish every 2 years. It is a full deep dive into data on New York City's children, and you are welcome to take these home with you. Our data team also does other projects, such as a participatory research project with young people in Brooklyn and what they were saying that they need in their communities. So brought a few copies of that as well. We have done needs assessments across Queens and Staten Island, and are really looking to make sure that our advocacy is backed by what community members are saying they need and what the data shows is happening. That leads us to our policy advocacy, the team that I am on. We're in a host of different coalitions. We meet with elected officials weekly to talk about our policy agenda that is informed by the people that we meet with and our youth program. And then for community engagement, we do that on multiple fronts. We do have a youth program with Youth Action and Youth Action members who come up with a youth agenda for New York City every year. We also are involved in a lot of grassroots community building efforts and coalitions like the Healthy Minds and Healthy Kids campaign, which is a mental health and behavioral health initiative to expand opportunities so the wait lists aren't so long for kids, but also the Solutions Not Suspensions campaign, which I'll talk about later on this presentation. So a lot of community engagement across the board, because we believe you need all three to effectively be making policy across New York. And we do city and state and occasionally federal when our federal government is acting as it is. So y'all's community board, super exciting. I heard you all mentioning Councilmember Powers earlier, but y'all do have an open seat, so we'll see who fills that according to ballotpedia.com. And then Councilmember Keith Powers, Councilmember Julie Menon, she has recently thrown her hat in the ring for speaker. So we'll see how that plays out. Then your state representation, Senator Krueger, who I believe's office is also in this building, Senator Gonzalez, Assemblymember Boris, and Assemblymember Epstein. Great people. I love your map in the back. So very exciting. Okay. Education in New York City. Want to do a snapshot about what is our school system? We have the largest school system in the country. And so we have over 900,000 students are in the New York City school system. 148,000 are in charter schools. And we see that there's a split of how many charter schools and public schools that there are in the city. What is, I think, important to pay attention to the demographics is almost 17% were English language learners in this past school year, which has increased. 22.4% were students with disabilities and 75.3% were economically disadvantaged. Highlighting the students with disabilities part, the majority of schools in New York City are not ADA compliant, and it will take, I think there was a $1 billion investment to get even half the schools to be ADA compliant in the next 10 years. So this is a real issue that we need to focus on as a city. Further racial demographics of the 2024-2025 school year, 42.3% Hispanic, 19.3% Black, 18.7% Asian Pacific Islander, 16.1% white, 2% multiracial, and 1.2% Native American. And then we know that schools don't always have this demographic makeup. But I will say that racial demographics is only one lens of diversity, and I think that is an important thing to hold. Funding, most of the New York City public schools, it is now no longer called DOE, but if I call it DOE, please don't, I mean New York City Public Schools, is city funding and state. The federal funding we'll talk about a little bit later on in the presentation, that will likely fluctuate. And the state funding will also fluctuate due to some policy changes that I'll talk about later. But as you can see, we're a predominantly city funded school district. All right, now into the nitty-gritty. Do people know about mayoral control? Okay. Great, well, I'm gonna go through this. It's just an engagement question. So most, nationwide, most school districts are run by a school board, but in New York City, ours is run by our mayor. And so this allows the mayor to appoint the school chancellor, and then appoint members of the panel for education policy. The PEP team is what they're, or PEP policy group is what they're called. They have hearings every month that you can also attend. The mayoral control is often used as a bargaining chip between the city and the state when the budget is coming out because it's renewed every 2 years. This past year, all the years bleed together. I think this past year, there's a lot of tension around whether or not to renew it because Adams has had a interesting path leading the school system recently. It started with Mayor Bloomberg. There's debate if it is a good program or not, but historically, so before Bloomberg, the city schools were run by 32 specific community school boards and then the Board of Education, and they created education policies. They selected the school's chancellor. Members of the community school boards were elected, and those boards, up until 1996, would appoint the superintendent. But there was a lot of corruption around that, a lot of misappropriated funds. And so when Bloomberg became mayor, he closed the failing schools, opened smaller schools, opened more charter schools, and instituted a merit wage for teachers. So definitely some pros, but also no policy is perfect. So there is some drawbacks as well. Class size, I heard you all talking a bit about this as well. There's the new class size mandate, which again is probably easier said than done when thinking about space. But the goal is to reduce class size and rebalance the number of students in classrooms. The changes include building new schools, shifting school zone boundaries, allowing or different programming and enrollment requirements, and employing more teachers. Obviously, we're very built up city. There aren't a lot of empty lots to like build a new school. That also takes time. And blending school communities brings up a lot as well. So there is I think no parent wants their child in a 40-person classroom. And the feasibility of this will continue to see how that plays out. I think, parallel to this, the student enrollment is decreasing post-COVID. We just have not seen the levels of student enrollment that we had, before COVID. Yes, I'm gonna put that here while I talk. And so we see across the city, it declined 12%, but in predominantly Black schools, the Black student enrollment declined by 32%. And each student is a price tag is attached to each student for how the schools are funded. So when we see schools that are in predominantly Black, brown communities that are losing resources at almost triple the rate of maybe citywide schools, we're also seeing less resources put into those school districts. So definitely a problem.
And it declined by this amount since when?
This was in the past 3 years.
Okay, so over the last 3 years, we've lost
Yeah.
12%.
Yeah. So the newly arriving migrants sort of evened out how many students we lost post-COVID, but then over the past year and a half, that number is essentially stopped. We're seeing schools, an article came out maybe 2 weeks ago. So typically, if a school is under enrolled, they have to give back the money that they thought they were going to have, based on their enrollment numbers. And this year, the chancellor said, even if your enrollment numbers are different, we keep the money, which all the schools are very grateful for, because some have over $100,000 in funds that they don't have the enrollment numbers for. A lot of those schools were schools that support English language learners, and they're down 200 students, and they originally thought they would be. So I have the article I can send out after particular. Yeah.
Do we know why the enrollment's down?
So, COVID, ooh, it's someone else,
You're
okay. COVID brought a lot of people out of the city, and then a lot of people did not come back. Then the number one demographic leaving the city right now is young parents with children. And so the projections are going down because it's just unaffordable to be here. The driving cost of families leaving is childcare and then housing.
I can speak to that as a single mom by choice as a first grader.
Brutal. It is not an affordable place to be. So a lot of parents are making that hard call and moving out. But even the chancellor's article on this was we don't have a golden or silver bullet answer as to why.
Kelby has a question.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, does private school also under the mayoral control?
Oh, great question. I do not think so, no. It is just for public schools, but charter schools would be under mayoral. Well, kind of. They have their own charter, but yes.
I have a question too. Is the per pupil funding equal for all students, or is it adjusted by their needs?
It is adjusted by needs, but not as much as we would like, and I will come back to that point when we talk about foundation aid. Yes, great questions. All of these are great questions. Okay. In a similar vein, New York City schools are some of the most segregated in the nation, which is horrific, and also shocking given how diverse our city is. But in 2021, 70% of the student population, despite making up 70% of the student population, Black and Latinx students respectively received only 3.6 and 5.4% of the specialized high school offers. We know that this is not because certain students have different intelligence levels. We know that this is a system-wide problem that is restrictive of who is attending what schools. Some of the ideas around trying to make a difference around this is addressing admissions procedures, changing test practices, and increasing weight per pupil for different populations of students, specifically students who are in foster care and students who are in temporary housing. Those students have more traumatic experiences, and so they want to make sure there's more wraparound supports for those students and therefore those schools. There's also a lot of thoughts around how to fix this problem. And it is, a lot of people are really unsure about the best ways to move forward. when we also see like a segregated city, like while we, those like zones just exist. And so like East Harlem has been disinvested in since New York began, same with the South Bronx. And so this will be a holistic investment plan to change how our schools are. We're not just gonna be able to pluck New York City's public schools and make them better. We'll need better housing, better hospitals, more job opportunities, better roads, all of those things as well to tie into addressing this issue. Policy areas to focus on. So these are 3 areas that I work on. Okay, I feel like this was a damning slide. We are making, it's important to know people care about this and are really fighting about it. And this is a constantly in conversation. So this is really a bad situation, and I fully believe in our city to be able to make progress on it. There we go. Okay, policy areas that I think are important to focus on and sort of give an example of how policy is made in New York City and New York State. So there's 2 state issues I want to talk to you about. One is the Solutions Not Suspensions Bill, and one is foundation aid. So has anyone heard of Solutions Not Suspensions Bill? That's it. Okay. So it has been around for 10 years. It has not yet passed, which is unfortunate. Basically, the goal of the bill is to reduce the over-reliance on suspensions as a form of punishment. We see that there are over 137,000 students suspended across New York State in the 2023-2024 school year, including over 8,000 students in pre-K to grade 3, so 4 to 8-year-olds were out of the classroom. The reason we are so against suspensions is the data proves they don't work. A student is removed and then they come back and they have had no resources to address their behavior of what has maybe happened. Many students are being suspended for dress code violations, being late, being like maybe talking back to your teacher, nothing like a lot of the infractions are not that severe. And also this bill would not address those severe infractions. Anything around a weapon or violence against another student is superseded by federal law. And we think that this is, especially post-COVID, I'm sure you all are on this committee, so you care a lot about schools and youth. The young people are not all right. Like there's a lot going on, and there's a lot happening in the world, and it is not their fault. But to force this kind of punishment onto very normal teen and a young child behavior is not going to get us the solutions we want. So this bill would institute sort of some safeguards. It would prevent suspensions for pre-K through 3rd grade, except for extraordinary circumstances where federal law would step in. We think our youngest learners just have to be in the classroom. Then it would, right now outside of New York City, you could be suspended for 180 days. That's the whole school year. So cap a suspension to 20 days, which is still a month lost of education, but we're not trying to take tools away from teachers, and a lot of times behavior does respond to that. So a suspension can only be max 20 days. And then while the student is out of school, ensuring that they have resources, are not falling behind, they have a plan. So within a week of them being suspended for a long-term suspension of 20 days, they have to have an education plan thought out with their teacher, guidance counselor, principal. And then trying to get through the behavior, some sort of screening, whether it's for a learning disability or behavioral issue, or just talking to a social worker about what are some issues at home, or is there something else going on? How can we work through this to actually try to create that effective behavior change? We don't want schools to become a place a young person dreads being, because that is not going to be helpful towards our society or that young person.
So can I just ask,
Of course.
does the presence or activity of school safety officers have some impact on this?
They do. So with school safety officers, I think it really depends on your relationship with them and who you have in your school. I've heard stories of really incredible school safety officers who are the only people that students can trust. Also having police in your school automatically can make a fight at recess, which when we were all in school would have just been broken up by other kids or your teacher, become a misdemeanor or an assault charge. So it really spans the whole gamut of how this could be helpful or unhelpful. And I think it really depends on the officer, which makes it tricky. Those police-free schools Coalition does support this bill. And we are trying to just like limit criminalization of young people, so less school safety officers would fall into line with that. But we also know that some young people, those are the only people they feel like they can trust, so we don't want to take away that resource necessarily.
Okay,
Yeah.
more later.
More later, sounds good. Then, okay, so I'll dig deeper into those cost mentions in a little bit. Foundation aid, do people know what the foundation aid formula is? So this is the formula that determines how much money is tied to each student. 2 years ago, Governor Kathy Hochul issued a commission to be done. It was done by the Rockefeller Institute. And they came up with a menu of items of what they could do to rewrite the formula, to update it to, because it hadn't been updated since the early 2000s, so to update it to our current city living, a statewide living that we have today. She unfortunately picked certain menu items that led New York City schools to lose $300 million. So that is not ideal. So we are focusing on different weights we could do. One is adding a per pupil weight to students in area housing and foster care, and then to update the regional cost index to try to recoup some of that money that we have lost from the state. And then finally, at the city level, the Coalition for Equitable Education Funding has been responsible for restoring millions of dollars of funds that would have been cut because of the COVID fiscal cliff 2 years ago, and then also due to the mayoral administration trying to find cost savings in different avenues. So I'll go into each of these a little bit in depth. So I wanted to split up by assembly district and senate district, how many students were suspended for community board 6. So assembly member Alex Flores has over 5,000 students suspended. And I know these districts aren't perfectly overlined with yours, but just to give a picture, some of these will be involved. And I think what I would like to bring attention to is Black students were suspended at almost 6 times as often as white students. And then Assembly member Harvey Epstein's district, while only 799 students were suspended, Black students were suspended 9 times as often as white students, often for the same behavior. And so these are the total of lost days of education, which are far too many. And similarly with Senator Krueger and Senator Gonzalez, we're just seeing disproportionate rates based on race, disability, and economic advantage.
Are you seeing any difference across charter schools versus non-charter?
Yes, oh, that's the other part of the solutions to suspensions bill. It would require charters to apply to state law. Charters they don't have to give us suspension school data. But they have high suspension data and expulsion.
Yeah.
They don't have to necessarily go through the same suspension hearing protocol and many times just dismiss the student, which is why we think it's very important for them to be tied to this solutions, not suspensions bill.
So this data doesn't include charter schools.
No. Yeah, just the non-charter public schools.
And is that because they want to control their student population?
Yes, yes. And like testing brings in also different funding, but I think we've all seen on the bus stop certain charters being like 100% of our students get accepted to college. And it's like, okay, because someone who maybe had a little bit of trouble with math didn't get that like second or third chance because you wanted 100% of your students accepted to college. So yes.
And so that relates to directly to suspensions though in some cases?
Because a lot of times, especially charters not in New York City, where there isn't the cap on, New York City has a cap of 20 days. There are ways to get around it, which the data shows, but overall you can't suspend over 20 days, but you can suspend multiple times and then the parent might just take their kid out of school because they're just missing so much school. But outside of the city, you can be suspended for the whole school year. And so then the parent is like, I need to get I work, I need childcare, but my kid needs to be in school. And then that can also bring in administration for children's services or child protective services for educational neglect if your child is not enrolled in school. So it can really triple into so many systems, which is why we think this bill, which would just like minimize the go-to nature of suspending students, just push it down the line a little bit.
So just to clarify, the bill is intended for New York State. It's not
Yes.
just New York City specific.
Correct.
Okay.
Any more questions?
thousands, but
Yeah,
gone.
fair, fair. Okay, foundation aid, I briefly spoke about this already. So right now, we don't feel the impact of the loss of the 300 million because it went into effect in the budget that was passed, this year. We would be feeling it in the years to come. However, if we pass these two bills sponsored by Senator Liu and Assemblymember Joanne Simon, which would update the regional cost index to better reflect the cost of New York City, because right now it's working off of like almost 25-year-old data, and so it's just not showing how expensive it is to live here now. And adding more of a per pupil weight for students in temporary housing and foster care, we could recoup that 300 million. In the budget that was passed supposed to be passed April 1st, but was passed like May 2nd, English language learners had an increased weight, not as much as we had been asking for, but a little bit. So like more funding went to schools that was supporting English language learners.
What are the major, I'm out of date on this, what are the major weightings now in the
Oh, good question.
IEPs,
Yes.
special ed,
Mhm.
ELL? What are the others?
Definitely, yeah, IEP, special ed, ELL, I think there was one around. I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure what else there is, but IEPs and special needs
But
was,
there isn't a waiting for temporary housing?
mm-mm,
Well, that's not.
no. And I'd have to, yeah, and this is because we were speaking earlier, I'm sure you all saw the news of the 153,000 students who are now home or in shelter this school year. The data that's in the book, it doesn't reflect that because that was published in 2024, but our data book that comes out next year will have that in there because it's the like biggest jump in homeless students that like New York City has ever seen. Yes.
Yeah, what about those students that are home school?
Oh. I don't know, actually. I could get back to you on that. I don't know if I don't think they're included in any of the data that I just showed. But I will check on how we make sure that they're being up to code. I think they have their own training and agreement through New York City Public Schools, though.
They have to pass the Regents
Yes.
test when they finish.
Is there a wait now for children and youth in foster care?
No. No, that's one of the things we would be asking for.
Mm-hmm.
I think also like more, like when foundation aid was originally passed in like the 2000s, there just wasn't the dialogue around, or at the level it is now of how damaging foster care can be to a young person's sense of self and belonging, and especially if they're getting moved around to different schools based on their foster homes. So that's been a big push this year. And so this is at the city level. We have restored these programs for this fiscal year, but starting July 1st, 2026, if we don't get the funding again for another year or baseline it, then all of these programs will be gone. And this is a short list compared to what we were able to get back through the Coalition of Educational Funding, or for such a long group, Coalition for Equitable Education Funding. When the COVID fiscal cliff was happening, we were at risk of losing, I think, almost like 30 programs. And because they were all funded through the stimulus dollars, and then a coalition of advocates all came together and said, we can't lose all of our education funding. Our schools are just getting back. And the council and state reps were saying, basically, you guys are gonna have to pick and choose which ones of these you want to save, because we can't save them all. And the advocates said, no, you are going to save them all. And it was really beautiful to see people not go at each other's throats and do all of us or none of us kind of push, which was risky, but we got all of us, so that was great. But a lot of it was just funded for 1 year, not baseline, which would be through at least 5 years. And so such programs, so summer programming, that would be Summer Rising, which has pros and cons, but it's important that we have some form of summer program for our young people. Learning to work programs, which provide support to overage undercredited students to help them earn a high school diploma and develop a post-secondary plan. Restorative justice programs, the mental health continuum, which provides mental health care to students at 50 schools.
I'm
how-
sorry, go back, restorative justice.
Sorry,
program.
restorative justice, which would help students stay in schools through hosting restorative circles, being trained as facilitators, mediation. It would be programs in schools that a lot of times if there's a fight, then the students can go to the circle and figure out the root of the cause. And it's one of the tools that the Solutions Not Suspensions campaign does urge action on for a more widespread rollout. 5 million to make sure families are aware of the early childhood programs, 4 million for immigrant family outreach, and 33 million for student success centers, which train and support youth leaders on how to guide their peers through college admission process. And that's in 30 high schools.
So what's the outreach for immigrant families?
So the outreach for immigrant families is to let them know about what resources their school has, what school they should be applying for, what zone they're in, but in the language of that they're most comfortable in. And so it's like to make like any form of like information guide, if they need a translator, accompanying them to how they would use the school bus system, any of those things. And to make sure that they're aware of what is available to them. And that is particularly important for early childhood care. There's Promise NYC, which is a free daycare program for undocumented parents, which we don't talk about in the media a lot because we don't want to bring attention to it. But it's a program that needs outreach, so parents know that it's there and that it's safe for their kids to be at. But we don't really highlight it that much.
But outreach means not just to parents of children who are enrolled, but to parents who have children who are not.
Correct. So if a family comes to the family homelessness shelter and they are an immigrant family, like there will be resources there for them to be given about how to get their kid in school based on where they'll be placed and things like that. Could it always be better? Yes, definitely. But and could it be defunded next year? Also, yes. So these are things that it makes it hard to build out a sustainable plan of like, oh, every year, like you and I are gonna go out to Sunset Park and like make sure we like door knock to see if anyone needs any resources, but oh, maybe we won't be doing that. It just creates discrepancy in care for families. We are seeing a federal impact on New York City. I'm sure you all are aware. We see Head Start programs are at risk. Something that happened this fall is that the Trump administration wanted New York City public schools to like he threatened to pull funding if they didn't roll back their policies on inclusivity for trans youth. The chancellor said, no, we are going to be inclusive for trans youth. And so now there's about 15 to 36 million, depending on which article you read, in grant funding, specifically I think for magnet schools is at risk, because we did not comply with removing, our equitable practices. Immigration fears are keeping many students at home. They're really afraid to come home and their parents not be there or be picked up off the street. There was like a 5-day period where they didn't know where a 6-year-old was, like a week ago. So this is a very real and intensely problematic issue that our schools are facing. And it's hard. The attendance policy is hard to tell who's missing, because of how the schools are doing attendance now. And then our state and local governments are attempting to do things about it. There's the Right to Read bill, which I believe you all are talking about later tonight, to protect librarians and schools from being able to have certain books available and not having them pulled off the shelves. And then in New York City, there's a Black Studies curriculum being instituted this school year, and there are advocacy groups focused on doing a similar thing for Hispanic and Asian studies programs as well. So ways to get involved, you can join any of the coalitions I talked about. If you have any questions, I have business cards there to hand out if you want to get in touch with me. There are budget hearings every spring in around March and in around May, where you can let your voice be heard about what you think needs to be funded more, what shouldn't be funded, what's funded too much, that money should be moved to education. Call and meet with your council member, assembly member, and senator to speak about your issues. And basically every organization will go to Albany for a lobby or advocacy day, where you will lobby, but certain organizations have different things about that. So to go for an advocacy day, and talk to folks and have a rally and meet other people who care about the issues you care about. And I'd love to see you in the advocacy space. And thank you so much for having me and happy to answer any questions.
Where do you understand that Hochul is on the right to read bill?
Great question. She goes the opposite way I always think she's gonna go, but I'm hoping, yeah, I'm hoping she's for it. I think we've seen so many. Okay, we've seen so many pushes for books to be taken off the shelves across New York. I feel like New York is increasingly a conservative state, and I fear that she does curry that favor, especially in an election year. I could see her not doing this. However, that I feel like it is just means we should push for it harder, because the more like these are life-saving resources for kids, and to like be able to read and see themselves in some pages is, well, I think one of the more important things, especially as curriculum gets slashed and slashed and slashed. So she's stood up before on certain things, but I don't know if she will. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I'm thinking that she's probably for it, but afraid, but if she has like cover, like enough people pushing her to
Yes,
do it, that makes it easy
I would agree.
for her to do
I
what
would
she
agree.
thinks is right.
Can I ask about IEPs?
Okay,
There's
and I
two,
might have to get back to you on them because I'm not an expert, but you can definitely ask.
I think you'll handle it.
Okay.
Or maybe not. I mean, there's concerns on both sides that they're not being processed
Yeah.
fast and properly.
Correct.
But the other side is abuse. There are many parents who exploit the IEP. And that affects funding and many other things. So I'll ask you if you know about that, or what kind of balance there is, or
Yeah.
how that should be addressed.
I feel like, one, I will do a little bit more research and get back to you on that for sure, but I do think that right now, the bigger problem is students not even getting the services in their IEPs, and I think that would be where I would be more concerned. Especially when we think of court-involved youth. Advocates for Children just came out with a report on court-involved youth, and so those students who are already getting somewhat of a shoddy education in different detention centers, but a lot of them come out with a different IEP than when they went in, based on like how they have progressed while they were detained, and then they go to they re-enroll in their home school and they're slapped with like the absolutely wrong IEP. And so making sure that students from all backgrounds are getting the actual support they need, I think, is the bigger problem right now. But I do think we gotta be wary of not just being like, oh, like give everyone their IEP right away, in case parents are doing something that is like unintended and what would be there, but I will follow up on that.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I just, and it may be too early, it sounds like it may be, but I mean, we were talking about the drops in our student enrollment overall in specific communities as we look to these children who are immigrants themselves or from immigrant families, and like, do we have a sense of how big a hit this is in terms of kids no longer coming to school?
Anecdotally, a huge hit. Quantitatively, we haven't seen the numbers yet.
And when will we know that, like after June? Maybe?
Most
Okay.
likely after June. And what is tricky is like the attendance rates that were coming out as of November. We're saying like 90 to 98% attendance rate. So it wasn't really reflecting what we were hearing anecdotally of students not coming to school. And Rita Joseph, the chair for education, was saying something about how like looking at daily attendance wouldn't reflect the crisis that is happening. And so we have another education meeting with her tomorrow. So if I get any more insights, I'll follow up with Katie, but it's been mostly anecdotal. Yeah.
I was just gonna address Stuart's question about parents using the special education system, abusing it. I think that that's very, very unusual, because there's also a stigma involved in, having a child who has a disability and participate in special education. So I think, that prevents, that makes it very.
There have been communities where that was a major issue, where it was almost an organized issue. But I mean, we can get to that
Yeah.
later.
And I also think, on the flip side, there are parents who won't let their kid be screened, and that also then causes
Because of the
issues,
stigma.
yeah, the issues as well, because, then they keep getting suspended and then like can't get programs.
But there are also a lot of parents who are, there are also a lot of parents who are fighting for their kids to get the IEPs with necessary services, and no matter what they do, they cannot get them.
Yeah.
And the district, the superintendent, and even the principals go so far as to prevent those services, forcing those children into D75 or other schools. So I think that's something that,
Yeah,
I agree with you, ma'am, that, but I haven't seen anything in terms of the abuse. I just know the fights that this mom, friend of mine, and other moms are fighting for to get
Yeah.
their children these IEPs, the services they need, and they're not getting.
I don't think the lion's share is getting the support, and the number of paraprofessionals has decreased. God forbid, after-school programming or summer programming to have the support you need. I know that was a big issue with Summer Rising, with after-school providers who did the second half of the day. They weren't even allowed to get a list of the students' allergies from like the DOE or New York City Public Schools. And so they were just like felt completely hindered by just like the lack of ability for these agencies to work together, to the worst case scenario of this for the student.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for
Oh,
really
of
using.
course. Oh, great.
My view of the IEPs is that our default should be to give the IEPs and support the kids. Now, I know it's a big issue right now. There was a big article in the Atlantic recently on colleges.
Exactly.
And so, you can argue that, people argue the games are being played there. I don't know for a fact. But in my view, in public schools is the default is to get the IEPs for kids. And the other thing is, you raised the point also of destigmatizing the IEPs.
Right.
Because when kids 10 or 15 years ago, when kids I knew well were young in school, there was a stigma associated with, ADHD and now, so let's not err on let's not wipe those kids out by saying, no, that's
Yeah.
I missed this. Where are we, I can't remember, the suspensions program that you're, representing? Where is that in the process?
Oh, great question. So it has been introduced.
Introduced to the legislature? Okay.
So we are at the beginning.
Okay.
Yes, we have a same as bill from the Senate, the Assembly side. We have a pretty large number of sponsors. We're in conversations with the teachers union, which is going really well. But yes, it is going to be a long road, I believe, just as it has been.
Do you know if our elected officials have signed on?
I can't believe I didn't check that. I will let you know. Senator Krueger is not. I keep meeting with her office. And you don't sign on, but that's okay. We will get them eventually. And then I can't remember about the other few. Kristen Gonzalez might be. We have more signed on in the Assembly than we do in the Senate. So I'll have to check that and get back to you.
Healthy Minds.
Oh, yes.
What's the data on students who have mental health issues or emotional issues?
So there is a coalition called the Healthy Minds, Healthy Kids campaign, which I highly recommend looking into. They do parent and student caregiver councils across the state. But overall, student mental health is pretty poor, and the wait lists are very long. So we have parents who have come and said that their child has had a self-harm or like some form of an attempt, and the emergency room says 8 months before they can see a therapist. And so has to do with like insurance, and now with everything with Medicaid, things are getting even a little bit more complicated, but I think we're seeing rising rates of anxiety and depression among students. And especially around students with in a mixed status family or who are undocumented themselves, like incredibly high rates of anxiety, and they're just not going outside. So those would be like I think anxiety and depression are measured pretty frequently. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can also follow. I'm gonna repeat what I said I would follow up with at the end of this with you about what those are, but they're increasing.
But that interplays with everything else, that
Correct.
interplays with suspensions,
Yes.
children quitting, children not
Mhm.
performing well.
100%. And like the American Psychological Association is signed on to solutions, not suspensions. The number of schools don't have enough social workers, even though the New York City Public Schools did that whole like hiring 5,000 social workers. I don't even think they got all 5,000, and there's still most social workers are in like 3 different schools in 1 week. So there just isn't the sustained level of care needed, or one social worker is in a school of 350 kids, and that's their whole caseload. And so then it's very much putting out the most intense fires. So even students who have debilitating anxiety, but aren't at the level of self-harm, like are not even getting the resources they need.
So solutions, not suspensions, is the primary tool that's
It is one of the tools. It would support students who are at the point that they are acting out in class to be met with care. But ideally, we would want to make sure students don't even have to get to that point, which would be changing the insurance reimbursement structure. Which would, I can send you information from the Healthy Minds, Healthy Kids campaign. They go deeply into it and have like a very 1-pager on that. And how they would want to change that. It would reintroduce like millions of dollars to.
in the ideal world.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
In the immediate, it's like the relying on community care. And if you like see a kid who you always see, it seems a little different, do not hesitate to ask if they are okay. That's kind of where we're at right now.
So what would Eleanor Roosevelt think of the current state?
Great question. She thinks she'd be pretty disappointed. The East Wing of all the first ladies is gone now. I think she's started CCC with a goal that we would be further along than we are now. But I think she would say, I'm glad to be at Community Board 6, hearing all these questions about people who care. May her ghost live within us.
So much.
Oh my gosh, thank
Really
you so much for
wonderful.
having me. Can we do a quick roll call of what I said I would follow up with you all on? Cause I don't want to forget. Homeless students per school district, Healthy Minds, Healthy Kids, policy priorities. Around how to address the crisis. What else did we say?
Waiting, different waiting.
Yes, thank you. Waits for foundation aid. Do your rep sign on to SNS? That's true, but I'll put it. Well, if there's anything else, I'll leave my cards there, and please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You know what, I realized I looked you up on the website, and I realized that you're also the person at CCC that does policy analysis for the child welfare
Yes.
system and juvenile justice,
Yes.
and we are responsible
Oh, that's so funny.
for both of those
Oh, wow.
areas, so I would love to have you. come
Yeah,
back if
would
you-
love to come back, would love to come
And help
back.
us with those areas.
Yeah,
as
would
well.
definitely love to
This
chat
has
about
been
that.
great.
Yeah,
This
of
has been
course,
very
of course. And 2 of my teammates, do like food insecurity, and environmental issues, housing and behavioral health. So if any of those are more niche, I can also have them help me with some slides as well. So please just let me know. Great.
So of everything you want from us, what are your priorities?
Well, first, thank you for being engaged, being on your community board. If your people are not signed on to solutions, not suspensions, I would love for you to call and say that's a really important issue area for you. If you know someone who's in Assemblymember Benedetto's district up in like the West Bronx, he's a holdout and would love, and he's the chair of the education committee, so would love support getting him on board. And then around, the city level, to put this, a lot of times, if you get funding for 1 year and then you ask them to baseline it, people might call you greedy, but we know we need that money to be sustained, so the more people we have emphasizing the importance of baselining our youth programs, the better. So it would be, make your council member, assembly member, and senator know your number by the time you're finished with them.
Is there a bill for that?
For the,
Or is that like a lot of different pieces?
it's a lot of different
legislation
pieces
and
that'll be
budget?
in the budget. And
Okay.
CCC analyzes the state and city budgets, and it'll be up on our website, so I can, cause they're like 900 pages, so can, highlight when those come out
Yeah,
for
yeah.
high level.
Because we can write resolutions to our elected representatives and to city and state
Mhm.
administrators.
Yeah,
And, recommend that they do, particular things.
that would be great.
Something.
The problem is, we write a resolution unless we follow up with it, it's just a piece of paper.
Fair.
So, in some of these, it's probably more impactful for us to
Definitely.
talk to our elected representatives and find out why.
Yeah,
Signed off.
that would be really great. And we have rallies before the hearing at City Hall, and the hearings are public, so you can come and testify. I will say the education hearing is a testament of strength. I think testimony goes to 10:30 PM and the hearing starts at 10 AM, so those are tough. Those ones are tough, but everyone cares about education, so that is something positive, but, just showing up and showing that you care about these specific issues. The hearings are all posted online, so you can see the agenda beforehand, and just, showing up is always really helpful. So, yeah. Great, and I'll email Katie whenever we have any. We actually have a solution suspensions mass call tomorrow, 6 to 7 PM. If people are interested, I'll send the registration form to you, so you can circulate it.
We have 4.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, that'll be seven.
You are gone.
7 on.
Seven.
That's okay. I know you'll be there with us in spirit. But thank you all so much. I really had a wonderful time speaking with you, so.
Yeah, thank you so
great.
much.
Is it okay to leave these, or would it be, is having things annoying, because I can take some back?
If you need
Yeah.
them.
But we do not.
Oh.
We haven't met yet, but I don't want to,
Useful?
I don't wanna just shift the recycling problem.
Are they online? Is this all online?
It is all online.
Then,
There's also a database called Keeping Track Online where you can, it's more interactive, which is also on our website. Thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, what did you say to me? And then it's great, look at them. Yeah, are you Italian? Yeah, from Naples. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
This is.
Okay.
Oh, yes, this is, I would love that, because I've never met another Passerelli besides my family. Thank you. That's so hilarious. Take care, thank you so much.
Thanks again. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the proposed resolution regarding the Freedom to Read Act. Hope people had a chance.
Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Brian will bring it up on the screen.
We'll just make that larger.
So Governor Hochul still has not signed it.
Has she gone there yet?
Yeah, it's on her
Yes,
desk.
yeah, it's been on her desk for a while. Yeah,
My understanding is they bring in things for her to sign on kind of regular. So.
yeah.
Did everyone see that? I'll scroll.
And do we know where our representatives are on this issue?
No.
That should be the first thing.
Yeah, I know they're not co-sponsors.
So we don't know there. Right there. We can ask tomorrow if we'll.
Yeah. Okay,
Especially if, this passes, we'll have it as a condition.
right.
Yeah.
Is this? Wait.
Yeah, do people have, any, suggested changes that they would like to make, or do people want to read it, have it read out loud? Okay.
I see no old fashioned. Sandra has.
Sandra.
Yeah. I hate to put it this way. It seems like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't this, I don't get why it's even an issue. Here, why is this one, why is it not being signed? I can't imagine what the issue is.
I know, I guess, what Caitlin was saying is that there are a lot of, conservative groups that are putting pressure on the governor not to sign it, apparently.
Do you know what these groups? I'm sorry. My audio is on. Okay. How much pressure is there and so on? It's a little bit hard to hear some of the talk that just went on. But it just seems, I can't imagine how much pressure there could be that this isn't happening to understand what the issue is. How many conservative groups are opposing availability of acceptable literature in this state? Do you have some idea of what that looks like?
Well, what I was trying to find, data on this, and I did find a few things. Let me find my note. Okay. So mainly I was looking at sites from the New York Civil Liberties Union and Penn, which are two organizations that have really been pushing the Freedom to Read Act. And what they're saying is that there's been a growth since COVID of attempts to remove books from school libraries in New York State. I found that on the New York Civil Liberties Union website, they said there were more than 200 complaints against books filed in the Hudson Valley school districts alone between 2020 and 2022. And then Penn didn't have data on New York, but they had data on the US as a whole. And they said there were 6,870 books banned in the 2024-25 school year in 45 states and 451 school districts. So it appears to be, a movement.
The Hudson Valley is notoriously red. That's the Mike Wally districts. That's they are very much the books they are looking to ban tend to deal with the difficult history that the US. We are a wonderful country, but we are not perfect. We were not founded perfectly, and anything that speaks to too much into race or critical race thinking or anything that requires critical thinking bothers these, a lot of these groups, a lot of these Christian conservative groups, and they are getting a lot of traction. If you remember the last mayor election, Lee Zeldin came very close to winning. First time we've probably gone red. In a very long time. So it's definitely growing. It's definitely a large, 40+% of the country feels that what children are learning, what we're reading is not American enough, is not sensitive, is too sensitive, requires too much thought. It's a very difficult situation.
But I guess the issue would be what's going on in New York State. Has there been actually any banning?
Yes.
Specifically that we're dealing with, that would be helpful information.
Yeah, so all I found in terms of hard data on that was from the New York Civil Liberties Union for just the Hudson Valley School District.
But did they ban it? I'm sorry, did they actually, were books banned from the library?
These were book ban attempts.
Okay,
So-
but nothing actually happened, just so I understand.
No book bans have happened then.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
That I don't know, but I did have numbers on the number of attempts to ban books in that one district over 2 years. And there were more than 200 complaints against books that were formally filed in that school district.
And the other part is there's something happening now that this, this proposal comes up specifically. What was the catalyst for this, proposal that we're looking at?
There's been an increase in attempts to ban books within the state.
No, yes, I was asked, is there some immediate, it was the, immediacy now that has gotten, is there something going on in the state legislature or something that this has come up? Again,
Well,
I just need the context.
It has been passed by the Assembly and the Senate, and it's just on Kathy Hochul's desk
Okay.
to be signed.
Okay.
So there's a lot of support for it within the New York State Legislature.
Okay, thanks. That was the question.
Okay.
Should
So
we move?
we move forward, we can present this tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah,
Or anything
Yeah.
official that we
So-
have to do in order to?
yeah. This is the first time I've put anything up for a vote. So does somebody have to make a motion?
You
Yeah.
actually could, but I'll move to
Okay.
the question.
Okay,
Someone seconds it and then you go.
okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I don't think at a
Okay.
committee level, we need a second.
Wait, okay, we do.
Yeah, we do. according to
Whether
what's
we
in the
need it or
script.
not, we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
not under Robert.
And then I believe Brian does the
yes,
roll call.
yes, so we can take a roll
So,
call. vote.
here, we will now take a vote. By roll call, when your name is called, please answer A, nay, abstain, or not entitled. And one thing, I always wondered what not entitled is, so that was my opportunity.
Sure, so if there were a conflict, which I don't think there would be a conflict for anyone in this instance,
Anyone a
but
librarian?
yeah, well,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
I'm joking.
no conceivable conflicts here, but occasionally there might be a conflict or a perception of a conflict of interest.
Mhm.
In that case, let's say there were a resolution in support of a grant for a hospital system, and you happen to work for that hospital system. And you're a member of the board, you would recuse yourself and you wouldn't be entitled
Okay,
to vote.
okay,
So
thank you,
that's yeah.
thank you. Okay, so Brian will conduct the vote by roll call as well as declare the results of the vote.
Thanks, Katie. So, Kyla Thide is not with us. LV Barosa,
In favor.
thank you. Stu
In
Desser,
favor?
thank you. Kate Kennedy,
In favor.
thank you. Rabia Iqbal is still not with us. Katie Landa,
In favor.
thank you. Sandra Leptoff,
In favor.
thank you. And Kevin O'Keefe is unable to join this evening. So with 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, and 0 not entitled, the motion passed. So this will be considered a full board.
Great, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so, if any, member of the committee has, old or new business, please raise your hand. Or, other people attending now too, this is the sign. Yeah, would anyone like to bring anything up?
We
Yeah.
would thank you.
Yes. Yeah, do you want to,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, so.
Yes, and how would you like us to?
Where
would you like us to?
Anywhere. you feel
But close to
comfortable.
this ugly thing, the bullet is what
Yeah.
listens to you.
Yeah.
The owl, and if you can
introduce
yourself. Sure. Do you mind if I
name
name so that we can?
Just see.
Make ourselves at home.
You can be comfortable.
Hi. Hey, we met. Hi, I'm Rachel Miller. I've had the pleasure of being here before. Last time was to ask for money and we got that from Harvey Epstein. So thank you for your support. Hopefully over the summer, we'll have our new water stations and turfed roof for safer outdoor recess. My name is Rachel Miller. I am a parent of two children at the River School, PS 281. I'm also PTA co-president, and it is in that capacity of which I'm here today. Been a resident of Murray Hill for 13 plus years at this point. Time flies when you're having fun. And unfortunately, we are here today to kind of share some concerns and sort of bring the community board up to date on a few things that have been happening since around May of last year at the River School, which are not quite as exciting as water stations and outdoor recess. Historically, our school has had higher teacher turnover than any other District 2 school, even compared to PS 116, which is a few blocks away from us. In 2024, I'm just gonna give you a timeline and kind of bring you up to date. In 2024, there were a lot of really, I guess, like alarming inside schools comments that sort of made the website Inside Schools, for those who are not familiar, maybe you all are, apologies. That made parents sort of start talking and questioning some things. And those comments were in the vein of abusive workplace, toxic administration, just bad teacher treatment that led to sort of this hemorrhaging of teachers. And when a few parents looked at school data from the school survey compared to other schools, we saw low teacher principal trust, higher rate of first, second year teachers, and not as strong a return or a retaining rate of tenured teachers, particularly, you know, compared to all of our neighborhood schools. And so then as a PTA, we addressed these concerns with our principal. I'm like, hey, parents are talking. We've all been made aware of these comments and we'd love to sort of partner with you to work on the situation. It was kind of dismissed then as a bad apple, like a one person. We were like, well, we don't really think so, because it sounds like a lot of people and we're sort of hearing these things. And if you look at the data, and that was kind of dismissed. The following school year, last school year, more and more parents just had worked to have more relationships with their teachers. And so we started hearing more things of this toxic work environment, more reasons why teachers were leaving. Teachers who left were telling parents exactly why they had left. At the same time, one of the kind of common themes between teachers leaving and something parents were experiencing in isolation and then kind of came together as a community was this deferral, delay, denial of students with special needs and IEPs for just not getting the services that they're mandated to have. And I think for a lot, and I don't want to speak for every parent that was involved, but it kind of all started along very similar lines. It seemed like there was a problem with the system or these things take time. But then when people started talking to each other, and I think some of the parents here will speak more about that, it kind of became a bigger concern. And so in May of last year, as a member of the PTA, about 9 9 or 10 of the 12 members on the executive board signed a letter to Superintendent McGuire. That basically said, hey, we have really grave concerns over the leadership at our school. We've seen historically this really high turnover, which we investigate is not in parallel with our other neighboring schools. Parents are beginning to talk to each other and realizing that the denial, delay, deferral, kids being pushed to D75 schools, is happening at a rate that it shouldn't be happening. There's also an element of her sort of unilateral decision-making that was just causing a lot of confusion and chaos, and we would love to talk to you about it. That turned into a series of open investigations. 2 weeks later, the teachers' union held a vote of no confidence at the school, the principal, and 93% of those teachers voted in favor of no confidence.
The only holdout was one teacher.
Yes, there's only holdout of one teacher. We continued to follow up. We were told multiple investigations were now being launched. Michael Mulberry came to school, Kelly McGuire came to the school. It was all happening at the end of June, and we're going to work on repair and whatnot. And it seemed to be that we had all gone to see Harvey Epstein in July because we were not getting any kind of information. Harvey talked to Kelly. It sounded like there was possibly a different path for her elsewhere, our principal, and we were like, great, love to hear it. In August, that didn't happen. We were told that she was returning. We were told she was committed to change. I said, I bet she was. In that time, she not only has demonstrated no change, but other things have come out. So, such as there is about a missing $77,000 of PTA funds, which is currently being investigated. I think Kelly had a call with our treasurer this morning. There has been, we are a blue ribbon school. We have very high test scores. This is sort of told to us as one of the reasons why she's not going anywhere. She's a tenured principal. We have found out that for years, she has pressured teachers to pressure families of students who might not perform well on the state tests.
An ELL or ENL learners.
Yes.
To what Caitlin was presenting, and hence some of my comments during Caitlin's presentation about what was going on.
To refuse to take the state test. So children who would not be performing well were not taking the state test, which makes it look like you have nice test scores. 2 weeks ago, she made at least 6 teachers cry. She doesn't speak to me or look me in the eye, which is, not a contract violation by any sort of means, but just kind of giving you an example of what we're working with. We have been flagged as a school that oversubscribes students to District 75 schools. We have had the district in our school building almost every week since the beginning of this school year. No one has seen any meaningful change. And I would love to sit here and say that, 6 months ago, we came here and we were wrong, and I've been proving wrong, or it's hard, but we're partnering together. There has been no partnership. She didn't apply for class size funding last year. We are applying for it this year, finally. She did not address it at the mandated SLT November meeting, instead held a separate meeting the Tuesday before the application was due at 1:30 in the afternoon to review it with concerned parents. Because parents could not make the time, or those who tried to make the time. Kelly McGuire gave us an extension to Friday. She was told to share the plan with us after she submitted it. She has still not shared the plan with us. One document that she did share with us, and this is sort of the most recent, and I would say most concerning issue we've learned about, was shared from riverschool281@gmail. Full disclosure, in my paying gig, I am a senior user experience researcher at Google for Education. I work on teacher-led student-facing features. I lead student research. I probably have a more in-depth knowledge of data privacy and data handling than your average parent. So when I noticed that this was shared by a Gmail, I got highly concerned to see what else is possibly shared by a Gmail. So in 48 hours, I asked 3 teachers if they could just search their drives. And don't tell me what you find, just tell me if you have documents and if they contain any of this information. Student names, IEP information, teacher names, teacher instructional materials. In 48 hours, they all came back to me and said yes. And they also said that this Gmail address has been active for years and she deletes teachers' access to it year after year. So other fun things about intellectual property and data privacy. Teachers' instructional materials are property of the DOE, also intellectual property of the teacher. So you're not allowed to delete them from anyone. They belong to the DOE. So, but the DOE does not oversee or have any administrative oversight of an @Gmail account. Has administrative oversight over an NYC, a schools.nyc.gov account. I know it kind of sounds all the same, but it's actually handled very differently in terms of oversight and in terms of permissions and in terms of data retention, data loss prevention, all sorts of things. That's a real violation. Also realized in the 48 hours, which I asked some people, students' names, addresses, IPs, teacher contact information, and students' immunization records are all available and handled on this River School 281 @Gmail account.
Is that lawful to?
No, it is a
And
HIPAA.
I don't just mean the privacy issue, but are you allowed to do official communications? Okay,
No, it is a FERPA violation, which is federal law about data privacy. It is a New York City, I think, 2D law when it comes to data handling. And with the immunization records, it's a HIPAA violation. So what you can share all that information on would be a Rachel Miller @schools.nyc.gov account, because that has enterprise data protections and that is the lawful way of which you can do school business. A River School @Gmail account is basically not any different than your Gmail account
but,
or my
but not
personal.
even privacy, but just as an official communication,
Right.
are you allowed to
No.
use? Okay.
You can use, there is a gray area from the pandemic where you can use a Google Workspace account, and that would be something like an @ps281.org account. Not ideal, the ITT, so the Department of Informational and Instructional Technology, the DOE, is actively trying to move and migrate all those schools who had that over to the NY schools.
Use a Google Workspace account here or our board.
Mhm.
But I want to interrupt you for a minute. I mean, this is a ton of information.
Yes.
But I'm afraid it's really not our business. I'm sorry to say it, but these, some of the things that you're bringing up are highly detailed, and if it's breaking the law, it's breaking the law. I'm not sure what you hope we can do.
I think we just need help getting the people who listen to, I mean, we've gone to Community Education Council meetings for 5 months. We have gone to PEP meetings. We have spoken in mass there. We have talked to Kelly McGuire, Harvey Epstein, Keith Powers.
And believe me, they have a lot more power than we do.
I think we're just looking to pull and press one of our
To the event.
CEC members.
And, but, I mean, it is a public meeting, and we're certainly happy to have you speak, but I'm just not sure how speaking with us is going to help, especially if it's breaking the law. That's a whole different thing.
Well, we're certainly pursuing the breaking the law, the privacy, the HIPAA stuff. We're certainly pursuing that via
And-
legal routes. And it's certainly something we have raised with significant concern to the superintendent's office, the Office of Information Privacy, et cetera. And are prepared. I am, full disclosure too, I work in insurance. I am an employment lawyer by training. I work in insurance. I represent small businesses, healthcare industries, the whole gamut. And I handle a number of the PII, personal identifiable information claims. And so I have the counsel to take on a suit against whether it has to be the DOE principal or liens or anyone else. I guess what we have come to you, and Katie was so wonderful to invite us here, is in addition to the straight legal violations, she is, there are significant issues, like we have mentioned, with the treatment of teachers, with the turnover, and to the extent there's any additional pressure, communications one can bring to our representatives. I think that's what we're seeking. We understand you're not gonna make changes. You're not the Policy on Education panel, CEC. but we want you to be aware. I don't know if any of you have students that go to River or, and I'm born and raised Murray Hill. I grew up on 40th and Second, but is now Murray Hill Towers, used to be the Marlboro House when I grow up. And I lived with my my first grader in Tudor City. It's a wonderful school with wonderful teachers and incredibly devoted parents. I've been pulled into this and we are going wherever we can to get any assistance we can with writing or speaking to representatives. You have their ear. We certainly have reached out to them, as Rachel has mentioned. I mean, I think that's what we're looking for, is just making you aware that this is going on, to the extent you speak with a representative, to the extent you speak with other community boards, we want to get the awareness out there. We don't know how many people know what's going on, because it's very hard when you're someone like me who started kindergarten, whose kid had a fantastic year and is currently having a fantastic first grade year, finds out what actually is happening behind the scenes. We've pulled the curtain and it's so disturbing.
And I think, sorry,
Go.
I think that also, and I want to talk about awareness, and it's not about venting, because we understand that there are venues and we are well aware of those venues and following those venues. We just want you to be aware, to help us spreading the voice, because it's not fair. Like I'm Mireya Moreno, I'm a mom of a now kindergarten autistic kid that goes to River School, who has his services have been delayed, who has been mistreated, who has been singled out, who has been having behavioral regressions, whose IEP has not been respected, and sometimes not even per ill intention, but just for lack of training of their turnover of teachers. So this is something that it's important for you to know and be aware. Be aware that this has direct implication in children. And if we as parents do not speak up, who is gonna do it? My kid is not gonna come and speak up here. We need to do it, and we need your help. Your help raising awareness in those that can make decisions. We are knocking all the doors that we can. Like if I'm allowed to start speaking with a microphone outside of Grand Central, I'm gonna do it, because it's my prerogative as a parent to defend my children's rights, because I'm not asking anything, or we are not asking anything that is not allowed to all the children. Disruptive behavior in classroom not only affect my kid, but affect all the other kids. And so I think that it's important to bring awareness. And as Sarah was saying, there are parents who do not see it. Parents that have an amazing experience. I didn't see it last year. His services were denied, were delayed for 3 weeks. But at the end, I had an amazing teacher that advocated for him and that set up all the strategies that were needed for him to succeed. This year, it's a different story.
And she's not being allowed to help. The teacher that was so great last year is actually not being allowed to help this year. And it's just the lack of institutional knowledge that when a second grade teacher can go back to the first grade teacher, hey, Riley's having an issue with this. Did you notice this at all in first grade? And they can say, no, we did, or we did, or we didn't, or yes, we did this strategy and it helped. So now that second grade teacher can have the strategy from the first grade teacher that no, it worked.
I think I get very passionate about the data privacy issue because it's very much in my daily wheelhouse. But I think, just to echo what they're saying, we are trying to tell everyone we can, because if you don't know, the school seems wonderful and it's great. And it is, and it's great in large part to our teachers. And I think we are terrified to lose them, to know how hard their day is. But also, if you think about any parenting book or any, early childhood, elementary pedagogy at all, it's consistency and routine. And what is happening systemically because of her failures as a leadership is we are just having consistent disruptions, and it's affecting our students, it's affecting the school, and it's affecting essentially the youngest, most vulnerable citizens of this neighborhood that you represent. And if that's we will go to anyone who will listen to us to help us remedy this situation. And
And besides inaction, are you getting any kind of explanation from McGuire?
We are not getting, we had a meeting in November, I think, or maybe late October with Superintendent McGuire, Deputy Superintendent Kelly Shannon, Manhattan, Assistant to the Manhattan Borough President, Gavin Healy, our representative on the
Community Education Council.
CEC,
November 14th.
November 14th, thank you very much. And we were told that, do you see any way to resolve the issues at River School without Principal Orleans's removal? And we have, I'm not gonna say we have been told, but it has been implied that regardless of the investigations into the discrimination based on disabilities, on race, on ELL, that there is just not enough there to remove financial impropriety. Data privacy was recent, but there's just not enough to remove a 12-year tenured principal. And, you know, to my wheelhouse, which is labor law and employment law and everything, I mean, there's a huge place for unions. We need that. The UFT needs to protect the teachers. I get the principal needs to be protected from baseless allegations. But we are really running into a situation where there just, no matter what, it doesn't seem to be enough to overturn a tenured principal. And we are trying to we're trying to make everybody aware, short of going with not quite the nuclear option, but with having to pursue litigation. Because it's a great school. The kids are doing great. We don't need, almost, we don't want our kids subjected to any type of retaliation, to disruption in their education from outside sources. If we can avoid that, because it's not fair to them. So we're going to everybody we can to ask for help. Principal Orleans needs to go. You understand you're not gonna make her go? But we need help. Anything you can say, do, let people know, get the word out is greatly appreciated.
I don't think we can do anything about the personnel issue, but issues like students not receiving services in their IEP, being pushed into District 75 schools, things like that. But we have to do a needs assessment on education. And, you know, we hopefully will be able to reach out, you know, to parents and students and educators and administrators in the schools in our district and see what, you know, what are the unmet needs educationally in our district, and, you know, knowing about this is very, you know, it is very important to us in gathering
Yeah, and
that
you would,
information.
So I just want to mention that there has been several parents that are no longer part of the River School, that because their kids have been pushed out of the school, that now they are either in District 75 or special education private schools. And so we are also happy to provide contacts, because it's important how to have communication with them. And I also want to note that there was a creation of the special education committee in the school because of our advocacy and the lack of support that parents and teachers with kids with special needs were having at the school, that it was created. And yeah, we have the presence, like, you know, there's a representation. The principal is in there, the assistant principal, representation from the district, but we don't have the special education coordinator. We don't have teacher representation. And it's just, you know, like a beautiful meeting for show that is not going to have a real impact in, like, I'm part of that committee, and the same day that my kid was being part, that committee was happening, I was receiving a report from the BCBA of how my child, like when she went to observe class, how my child was reprimanded verbally, was singled out because of behavioral regressions that he was having. So yeah.
It's something else I wanted to point out, to go to what you were just raising, is a couple things about deficiencies in the services being provided to our school. And I can't speak obviously to PS 116 or the other District 2 schools, and obviously District 2 is a massive district. The student, it is now December. We did not have a occupational therapist until about 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
One week ago, sorry.
Yeah.
We also, there was a number, not a number, I take that back.
Kelly
But there
made
are
it, yeah.
certain, Kelly made it happen. There are students on their IEPs who were designated to be in a 12-to-1-to-1 class, which is obviously a much smaller individualized attention class. The River School for over 11 years has not had that class and has been in violation of those requirements. Superintendent McGuire forced the River School to put that together in 72 hours. Principal Orleans blamed the district, not the fact that we had not the fact that 4 students had this on their IEPs since May of 2025. Not that they haven't had this program for 11 years. She pulled the special education coordinator. She removed a 3rd grade teacher to the special education class, knowing full well it was an ICT class with children who suffered anxiety. You have now pulled their teacher in November. You've pulled her to teach this 12-to-1 class. You have now pulled the special education teacher to be the assistant teacher, or not special education teachers, around the special education coordinator to be the assistant teacher in the 3rd grade. We now have no special education coordinator. We have no parent coordinator. We have no, because the special agent coordinator is now teaching, there are no set services. The Principal Orleans has fully complied with the district requirements and provided parents with a $75 voucher to obtain services outside the school or to obtain makeup set services on weekends. So these kids who not only are in school 5 days a week and supposed to receive sets, now have to go to class all weekend long to get their set services. Is it technically compliant? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it is not fair to
No,
the
it's not.
students or to the parents. And I mean, this is just one of the, issues we have with this principle is the lack of and this is direct effect on the stuff you just asked me about and the services not being available. My child had, and this happened last year too, my child was scheduled for OT, PT and counseling. She did not get OT till November. I followed up. I never got any. All I got from her teacher was, well, we don't have an OT yet. We're trying to find somebody. It wasn't my daughter's teacher's fault. She didn't have OT. I had my turning 5 meeting in May. My daughter's IEP was provided to me by the end of May. Principal Orlean knows that there are a number of kids, particularly OT and PT, by September. She didn't even have a line item in the budget for OT. This is just a fundamental problem. It's not a district-wide problem. I don't know that PS 116 necessarily has the same issues. And I think I can understand there, a couple weeks delay, maybe at the beginning of the, it is hard because OT does tend to come from private representation. It is not, the district doesn't have the funding for OT and PT. The PT is not funded by the DOE. It's not even a DOE employee. I have to follow up separately for my daughter's PT to find out what's going on. But parents get no communication while she's technically compliant. It's a disaster for these kids. Maria's child hasn't had OT until a week ago. That's a clear part of the issue of the behavioral regression. And there's just a fundamental denial of IEP and rights to our children. And that's what we need somebody to help us with, to help us address. We can deal with it from the legal side. I prefer to avoid that if possible.
Yeah, hi. My name is John Keller. My kid's been 13 years in New York City Public Schools. And first of all, I can just speak as a parent that if I perceive the situation that you folks report perceiving, I have no personal knowledge of it, but if I did, I'd be doing exactly what you're doing, okay? So that's the first thing. And when I hear something about, without taking a view on the situation, because I can. And when I hear about a potential HIPAA violation, that makes my blood boil. Okay, because that is, I turned this in, since I heard that, you can't do that with a kid. I guess, you know, my understanding is you've been to several events, you've been to PEP, you've been to the CE, I've listened to your presentations at the CEC. I haven't listened to them. I've read your CEP, you know, and the IEP is the number one item in your CEP. You know, other than listening and being aware, and I talk to a lot of people, so I'll certainly talk to people as a result of this. I'm not sure what else we can do as a board to help you. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's not empathizing. My kid had an IEP, and it was discovered by a brilliant teacher. And it was administered by a wonderful principal at several stages. But I'm not sure, and so I'm not sure what we can do here.
No, and I appreciate, I think that's right. I mean, I get that, but it's talking to people, it's getting the word out there. You never know who you might talk to. Somebody might have somebody's ear, somebody might get to somebody that might be able, frankly, at the end of the day, it's probably putting pressure on the DOE to take action.
I mean, I think even, you know, 4 emails to Kelly, maybe
Kristen
the,
Gonzalez, Liz.
maybe the,
Booth.
yeah, maybe even the deputy, you know, Kelly's boss, maybe even Dr. Rux, Keith Powers, Harvey,
Kristen Gonzalez.
Kristen
Liz Booth.
Gonzalez, and just say, hey, a bunch of parents came and shared with us. What are you
Not
doing
just
about
parents
it?
came. Three of, not just parents came too.
Yeah.
Others came too.
A bunch of-
Certainly, personal level.
Yeah, and I think that's all we're.
This was alleged, and once again, we're on a public meeting here, so I have no idea what the facts are on the
Right.
ground, but.
Absolutely.
It was alleged, and you know, have you heard about it? What do you think? That's the sort of thing that, you know.
And that's what we need.
And I think to
That's
the extent that's all we're, you know, asking
Asking
for,
for.
like we went to see, as you have heard us, we've gone to CEC 5 times. PEP once, but it was our 3rd CEC meeting where we really talked to Gavin and some of the other CEC members who told us to go to PEP, where we talked to Naveed beforehand, who, when we got up there 6 hours later, he went
Yeah, you
to,
wait till the very end.
you're in the budget contract, right? They were all there for us, and Gavin followed up and CC'd, you know, Dr. Rux and a whole bunch of other, and the borough president, and very quickly, we had a November meeting after that meeting went out, and I think it's. Kelly hears from us all the time, but when it's, you know, when we met with Harvey in July, there was a phone call 3 days later. I think that is all we're asking
I got
for,
it.
just
As I said, if I were in the position you guys represent yourselves being in, I would be doing what you're doing.
I think that's all, I mean, when you ask what we can do, I think that either as a education committee, as a school in your district with constituents that you serve, saying like, hey, we were made aware of this by three parents. Maybe you saw the Daily News article, but I think any kind of follow-up to just
Well,
share that, you know, that this is not. They're still trying to resolve this. It doesn't sound like they're gonna let it go.
I mean, so it's, you know.
You're gonna let it go.
Yeah. Well, we don't want anyone else.
if I had bet one thing, I would bet that this group of parents is not gonna let this go.
No, but we understand it's 8:15 and we
It's been
really
a
do
long time.
appreciate you
Your time.
listening to us and yes, venting to some extent, but you know,
It's part of what you have to do.
pass, you know, it's like, like telephone, pass the word around.
Yeah.
Anything you can do, anyone you can talk to, we'd appreciate.
Yeah, and as a resource, if you need contact with any of the parents that have experienced, the parents of the children that have experienced violations in their IEPs, denials of their services, being pushed out to District 75, or even, you know, I'm much more than happy to provide those contacts and just talk a little bit more of detail with precise information about every missed services that have been happening at school. Because I understand that this is information that could be useful for what you are doing. So we're happy to be also a resource for that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I
No?
have old business if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, then.
We have
Yeah.
Not the water fountains.
Yes,
yes.
Not again, but we have
That's
a.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Bye, friend.
Okay, please.
Rachel Passeretti Wu on behalf of SALT. I recognize parents from the River School from their CDC journeys together. I don't want to take up a lot of your time because we come here a lot. But last time there were some questions about, what makes SALT special. We reached out to the former principal who shared a few paragraphs with us, which I can hand out if you take up everybody's time reading it. But also the current principal is open to a visit if people are interested in coming.
I think we understand that you're special.
Ron McCurry says you're special,
Yeah.
you're special.
We are working on it. We have not abandoned your cause, so
Right.
I just don't feel that you have. I mean, I think anything, and sorry to usurp Katie on this, but I think anything you want to send, of course, we'll distribute, but, it's, you don't feel you have to prove you're special.
Okay, sure. Thank you. That is very helpful. And so I guess I'm hoping that we can make progress with a draft resolution. And I don't know how best to do that.
Well, we write the resolution.
Right.
We are working on it.
Okay, great.
So, but it's not, the way our process works, we write the resolution, the committee discusses it, and then if it passes committee, it goes to full board. So it's.
And of course, you're able to come to the meeting where we're discussing the proposed resolution and give your input.
Yeah.
It'll be January.
Okay, great.
And then, so I think the way the timing works, if it passes January, it'll be February for board.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yes, because we
Yeah,
need
it's our
at the very
January
end
meeting,
of
the end of
January.
January.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So.
And that's not
second-
gonna delay you in any way because nothing's happening until the spring and this might even have to go to PEP, which might be a new PEP,
Right.
so we don't know yet what's happening.
Okay,
But,
thank
just speaking for myself, I'm not on this committee, I'm on the board, but not speaking for the board, we certainly understand what you guys are saying, want to support. Just speaking for myself.
Thank you.
and we do have at least one salt parent, so.
Yes.
Someone who would like to salt.
Thank you. I think that's all I had.
Thank you. Thanks for coming again.
Yeah. And hopefully you met a page, a fellow.
Fellow Passeretti.
Yeah.
That's right.
Once removed or something.
Wild.
Yeah.
You have to be related.
Absolutely have to be.
Yeah, so the only things that I had to add in terms of new business is that Sandy and John have asked us to look at a draft of a handbook and to provide our input in the January executive meeting, so I'll circulate that to you because I would love to get your, the committee members' input on that as well. And then, in terms of old business,
Wait, could you just tell us what the handbook is about?
Maybe I can.
Yeah.
Explain. We're asking every committee to put together a handbook of what they feel is important to know when you join the committee. So, for instance, I think this committee, what are the public schools, what are the charter schools? What's the just some guidance, so when you join the committee, you have an idea of what our district is actually like. So that's one aspect of it, but other things, maybe Kate, you're the newest.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask if the goal is for someone who's new to the committee, not for someone who's considering which committee they may like to
No,
join.
it's for someone who's they're on the committee, they've been assigned.
I'm in charge, yeah.
Maybe they don't want to be on the committee. So just what's the important information that they need to know to be an active committee member?
And the good news is you have time to do this because we won't roll the committees until summer sometime.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this book will go, or this, and partly it's because, you know, we're losing long-term members, and so we're trying to pull together any information that we can. And especially when you get put on a committee, you quite often don't know what's, I don't know what's going on. You know, I'd love to know, but I have no idea. So it's kind of a package of information that you feel is important to have, what to check. And every committee is doing it, so. You'll
Right,
get the
well,
same.
we're all new to this committee.
Are we starting it from scratch or is there
Yes.
some, okay, all right.
Yeah,
We,
yeah, the
Is there a
committee was like, I think
Yeah.
last year very, you know, really dysfunctional.
yeah, it was very.
We really did like about nothing, yeah.
So we actually have, one that was done for the BASA, our fall committee. And it just, but they're so specific, it tells you, you know, what's a liquor license, how you go through the process, cannabis, what's the process. So they're very, very specific. This committee is a little more, you know, you have to decide what you think is important.
Yeah, I wonder if one of this is may or may not be reasonable is to have a mission statement that each committee works on as well. So there's some idea of what the goals are of the committee.
Exactly, that's
Yeah.
perfect as the main title of of this book. It's
Called
given
our
out.
mission.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a religious statement. Okay.
Our mission, then you put the mission statement and then you give the information that you need to fulfill the mission.
Terrific. I love that. That's a great organizing point. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and then other old business, I just wanted to follow up on last month's meeting where we had the presentation about the pilot providing guaranteed income to youth transitioning out of foster care and just, we, you know, at the end, we asked Julia, one of the presenters, what can we do? And she said to go to the website for the New York State Cash Alliance, which they're working for. And they have two bills that they're working on there. One is the Youth Empower, Transforming Care, which was, for emerging adults leaving foster care that we heard about. And the other is the Trust Youth Initiative, which is a pilot supporting young adults who have experienced homelessness and housing instability. And that was there's an evaluation that was done of that pilot by an organization called Truth and Health. It's based in Chicago. And so I just wanted to mention those two things. And then also in terms of SOC, I did reach out to Superintendent McGuire's office to ask him to come and meet with us. And never heard back from him. And then also Kate is gonna be working on a draft resolution for us.
My first resolution, guys.
Yes.
If you'd like my email address.
John has volunteered to help
Great.
me. So hopefully I'll have something for everyone to see before we send out everything for the January meeting.
Okay, great.
Happy New Year.
Okay. Does anyone have anything? No.
No.
Thank you.
Oh,
You should have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, okay.
Which does not have to be
All right.
seconded. Motion to adjourn and motion to table do not. So,
Okay, I move to adjourn. So,
And the time is.
no further business. The meeting is adjourned at 8:25.
you-
See you tomorrow, everybody.